Hi everyone, and welcome to our weekly Soul of the Parsha class. We have arrived at Parashat Emor. This parasha coincides beautifully with the time of year we are currently in the Jewish calendar, which is called the Counting of the Omer. Omer literally means sheaf, it's a bundle of grain. The Counting of the Omer is a period of 7 weeks leading up from Passover to Shavuot, the Festival of Weeks, exactly 7 weeks later. And it's called this way because this is the time of harvest, and at the end of these 7 weeks there's a special sacrifice that's being made, an offering called Tnufat HaOmer, which is called the Sheaf Offering or the wave offering, because it's brought up, it's presented to God in a movement of sort of swinging or bringing up the first bundles of grain that are harvested. So the commandment to count these times, these 7 weeks are counted. We stand every evening and we count each day as it passes by until we reach number 49, which leads up to the 50th day, which is the Festival of Weeks, Shavuot. So the commandment to count the Omer every day is in Parashat Emor. So now we're about in the middle of the counting. We just passed the middle a couple of days ago, and this week is also the week we read Parashat Emor, in which we're told about this commandment. Now we're going to start. What we really want to do today is we're going to look at, we want to have a deeper understanding of what does it mean, the counting of the Omer. What does it mean to count the days, to count each day that passes by? What is the hidden levels or layers of meaning that are hidden within this commandment? On the outside, it's just standing up and counting, but there must be something else going on. So we know that historically this is the transition from coming out of Egypt to standing under Mount Sinai and receiving the Torah. We also know that in agricultural terms, as I said, this is a time of harvest. And we know that halachically, in terms of Jewish law, we have this commandment to stand and count. But what does it all mean? So that's what we want to explore. But we want to start with looking at something very beautiful, which is the connection between the commandment of counting the Omer and the name of our parasha, which is Emor. So we can see that there's a verbal connection, which is that Emor is written Aleph Mem Reish. It's just 3 letters, you don't write the Vav. And Omer is also just 3 letters, which is Ayin Mem Reish. So the second 2 letters are the same, and the first letter is very similar. Aleph and Ayin, they sound similar. For Ashkenazi Jews, when they speak, you don't hear the difference at all. They say Amar, Omer. They don't pronounce the throaty Ayin, and so they're very similar. But they have an interesting relation between them. So Ayin, as I said, is throatier, means it's thicker in some way, whereas Aleph is leaner or thinner. It's a more subtle sound. And also numerically, Ayin equals 70, whereas Aleph equals 1. The relationship between 70 and 1 is very fundamental in the Torah. You have the Jewish people in 70 nations, the Jewish language, the Hebrew language, Lashon HaKodesh in 70 languages, and then you have the Sanhedrin, the main court, the topmost court, the highest court, which is 70 people with 1 presiding over them. And there are several examples of 1 over 70 in some way, or a 1 that's unique above the 70. And the idea is that Ayin is sort of an expansion, an external expression, more revealed on the outside, hiding within itself a unity, a 1, an Aleph. So the idea is that both in terms of how they sound, the Ayin being thicker and the Aleph being more subtle, and in terms of their numerical value, the Ayin hides something with an Aleph within it. There are several examples in the Hebrew language of words that the sole difference between them is Ayin or Aleph. And maybe the primary one is the word Or, which means light, starts with Aleph, and then the word Or, which means skin or leather, which covers up the light. We can say that this is our own being. We are covered in bodies, and what you see on the outside is our skin, is so to speak leather, Or, but on the inside we have a soul made of light. So the Or covers up the Ol, right? The skin covers the light within it. So a similar relation exists between Omer, the sheaf that's being raised, and this whole period of time is called the counting of the Omer, and this parasha which talks about Emor, speech. So what's beautiful here is that the commandment of the Omer is within the parasha Emor, but if you go inside the Omer counting, there's another Emor sort of hiding there. So right, Emor means to speak. So the parasha, the name of the parasha is Emor, it's speaking. Within this speech, we find the commandment of the counting of the Omer and the sacrifice of the Omer. And then if we go into the Omer, we see it hides within it another internal, deeper kind of speech. So there's a revealed speech within which we hear about the Omer, and then if we go into the Omer, we find another hidden, subtle, silent, unheard speech, which is really what the Omer is trying to tell us. So this is what our class is about. We want to listen closely to the inner, unheard speech, or Amira, Emor, not that's the one that's expressed in the title, in the name of the parasha, but the one that hides within one of its commandments, the speech, the Emor, that's within the Omer. So that's one connection. Now we're going to see another connection, very beautiful, before we're going to this structure we want to learn today, which is another connection to these two words. So it starts with looking at three Hebrew words, which are Or, Maim, and Rakia. So Or means light, and Maim means water, and Rakia is firmament. And these are really the three first things to be created. First day, God creates light. The second day, he takes the water and separates them. And then the third thing he does, also in the second day, is to place a firmament between the water. So light, water, firmament are the first three created things, and they become more concrete as we go down, right? Light is very spiritual, and then Maim, water, is sort of in between. It reflects the light and it's liquid. And then firmament is firm. It's something Rokah haaretz al hamayim. It says that the land, the earth, is placed firmly upon the water, and so it's like a process of materialization, we can say. Now what's beautiful about this is that if we just take the initials of Or, Maim, Rakia, it's Aleph, Mem, and then Reish, we get the word Emor, right? The name of the parasha, and it means to speak, and it's Emor, and it's written from the top down. It goes down. There's a saying, a speech. It's really the divine speech. The world is created through speech, and so we see the speech coming down. The first thing that God creates through speaking is light, and then water, and then Rakia, and just these three things reflect their acronym. The first letters stand for Amar, or Emor. So Hashem is saying, speaking the world into being, first light, then water, then firmament, and it's reflected in the very words. Now look at something else. Now if we want to look at the letters that finish the words, not the acronym, but the letters at the end of them. So Or ends with Reish, and Maim ends with again Mem, because Maim is a sort of palindromic word. It's like a mirror, just like water acts as a mirror. So the word Maim itself is a palindrome in Hebrew. You can write it in both directions. And the final word, Rakia, ends with an Ein. So really what we have here is we have the word Omer. But this time it's not written from the top down, it's written from the bottom up. Just like the offering, the sheaf offering, the offering of the Omer is presented in a movement that goes up. So this is a beautiful, beautiful little observation. If we take the three things that were first created, they contain within themselves these two parallel movements. On the one hand, the way they start off, right, because they go from the top down, so it's their first letters. Their first letters stand for speaking. God speaks the world into being through these three things. But then they also have the letters that they end with. So the end of the words signifies where we are at, right? We can, so to speak, God is at the beginning of the word, and we are at the end of the word. And we catch the ending of it, and then we need to do something with this. So we have light, and we have water, we have firmament, and they're all God's speech. what do we do with this? So we don't start with the light. We start with the firmament, with the rakia, with the earth that's placed firmly upon the water. And we take the ayin. Again, the ayin is the opposite of the aleph. The ayin is the aleph made much more concrete and much more visceral and physical. It's throatier, it's bigger, it's not 1, it's 70. We take that and then we start climbing upwards. And we go from there to the mem of the water, and from there to the reish of the light. We start with physicality, going up to spirituality. And this is really what the Omer is all about. So in a way, the counting of the Omer and this process of ascent, and it leads to us, with Moses representing us climbing up Mount Sinai in the direction of God in order to receive the Torah, which is, this is all coming full circle with the creation of the world. This is the idea. The creation of the world brought the world into being through speech, and now through the counting of the Omer, this is really us going upwards from the firmament of the water to the light, reclaiming, regaining, remembering the light of creation. And we don't have this divine speech, but we do have the counting of the days, the harvesting of the wheat, and then taking this up and bringing it back to Hashem, thus reflecting the way He created the world. It's a kind of a movement of gratitude and of echoing back to God His own speech from our own more physical state. So I think it's a beautiful thing to look at. So that's just the introduction. And now what we want to do is we want to explore the different layers or levels of meaning of the counting of the Omer. So this is where we're going to now. So we're starting by looking at the word counting. Sfirat HaOmer. Right? The commandment says, Usfartem lachem, you should count to yourself for 7 weeks, 7 whole weeks. Sfartem lachem, mimcharat Shabbat, from the following the first day of Passover, we start this counting. So of course the literal, pshat, simple meaning of sfartem is to count. That's what it means. That's the literal translation. But as we'll see, there are 2 more translations. And because we're going from the bottom up, as we saw before, with the Omer going upwards, we're also, again, we have 3 levels, and we're going upwards, but we start at the bottom. So just like we had the firmament and the ayin, we have here the literal meaning, which is mispar. And that's why we stand every evening and we count the day that we've arrived at. Second meaning, so I made it differently. What does this level signify? So of course it means counting, but it also signifies the mourning aspect that we have during this time. This is a time of mourning. The most famous reason is that the students of Rabbi Akiva died because of a plague during this time. And so we're not allowed to cut our hair, we're not allowed to listen to music. There's actually another reason which has to do with the fact that after in Pesach we stop praying for the rain, and in order to be acutely aware of the fact that we are now without rain, and we're still at the mercy of God, and we need a good weather and blessing for the earth, then that's another reason that this is a time of mourning. So the main thing it expresses itself, the main thing it expresses itself in is, as I said, no cutting of the hair. We don't take haircuts. We don't shave. Well, I don't shave, as you can see, but those who do shave don't. And there's no music and no weddings conducted, right? Until Lag BaOmer, at least. Lag BaOmer, some of these customs are stopped. Some people carry on some of them. Some people don't cut their hair all the way up to Shavuot. So what is the connection between number, counting, and mourning customs? It's very simple. It evokes a feeling that our days are numbered. Our days are numbered. Every day when you count a day, you appreciate the fact that you're alive another day. It's not obvious that you're alive another day. And when you're mourning, you're aware of the fact that you could die one day. When you're mourning someone who died, and then you're acutely aware of the finality of life and the finiteness of life, that the fact that everything ends. And so counting each day, although it's just numbers, but it's each day when you count it, you say, wow, I can't believe I'm alive another day. I appreciate this. And I need to be aware of this more. So this is a simple, basic level that I'm counting the days in order to be more aware and more grateful for the fact that I'm alive during these days. Second meaning of counting of the Omer is Sfirat Omer. The same root, Samech Pei Reish, can be seen as the root of the word story. To tell a story, lesapel sipur. This is another level. It's not revealed. It's not halachic. Halachically, we just count. That's the law. But there is a deeper level. The story level of the counting of the Omer corresponds to two things. One is the custom to learn Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers, on the different Saturdays, the 6 Saturdays, starting from the second week of starting with the second week of the coming of the Omer, the counting of the Omer. After Pesach, we learned the ethics of the fathers, Pirkei Avot. What is it all about? It's all about rectifying ourselves ethically. It's about rectifying our attributes. And on a deeper level, if you know a little bit the Kabbalistic structure of the Sfirot and how they inter-included one another, this is another kind of map with which we can do self-work. We work on our different attributes. We take Chesed, which is loving kindness, and then we explore different aspects of it. That's in the first week. Second week, it's the attribute of might. So every week, we go into each chamber of our hearts, we can say, and we rectify it. And really what we're doing is we're turning our life into a story. We're writing the story of our lives. So this is a deeper level, right? The first level has to do with being aware of just appreciating the fact that we're alive and counting the days. And it's a quantitative level, right? It's just a number and then another number. It's 2 and 3 and 4 days. Whereas story and the learning the ethics of the fathers and looking into the different attributes of the emotions, the emotional attributes, this is qualitative, not quantitative, right? It has to do with a different quality. So each day has its own shade, its own color, its own name. It's not just a number. Numbers being added, it also has its story to tell, right? Each day is a story to tell, and they add up to a bigger story together. Okay, now third level, highest level, is again we're taking the root Samech Pei Reish, but it's not Mispar, it's not Sipur. Now it's Sapir. Sapir is sapphire. It's one of the stones of the Choshen. And but it's used as to say something that lights up, that transmits light, right? These diamonds or gemstones, what they do is they reflect light, they radiate light in a very beautiful way. That's what makes them beautiful. So Sapir really stands for light, and what it corresponds to within this period of time of counting of the Omer, it corresponds to the growing expectation towards the giving of the Torah. So in a way, this is a countdown. On the first level, we're counting the days we put between ourselves and Egypt and Passover. More and more days we're out of Egypt. But there is, on the deepest level, there is another counting, a hidden countdown, counting towards the light of the end of the tunnel, which is the light of expecting to receive a new Torah in Shavuot. So we're going through this tunnel from Egypt to Mount Sinai, and this feeling of receiving more and more light increases. Now, look at something very, very beautiful, right? The whole idea of the counting of the Omer is that we're really building vessels in order to receive the light of the Torah. The Torah is an immense light, and we start off right with the light water firmament, and the Omer is climbing towards the light. So the light is our goal. And the whole idea of those 7 weeks is the 7 weeks correspond to the 7 emotional attributes. That's why on the middle level, we're rectifying the emotional attributes. And the whole idea of the emotional attributes is that we want to rectify ourselves so that we can become vessels to contain this light. So the next column in our table is this. The level of counting and of mourning and of appreciating our days and remembering that they're numbered and remembering this is a harsh world in which nothing should be taken for granted, and it's not obvious that we even live another day. That builds the exterior dimension of the vessel, right? So we have a vessel here, right? I didn't plant this, but I have this here. And each vessel has 3 aspects to it. One is the external aspect, the exterior of the vessel. So now we are supposed to be the vessel. And by reminding ourselves that this is a world, a harsh world, that a plague can kill hundreds of thousands of people, rather tens of thousands, as it was in the case of Rabbi Akiva, and we're actually experiencing now this in this world, remembering this and then appreciating our days vis-a-vis this harsh reality, that sort of builds our exterior aspect, or the way that we confront life, deal with life, and go through life, right? We're aware of the fact that it's hard, that people could die, that we shouldn't take it for granted that we're alive, and just being acutely aware of this, that builds the exterior of our vessel. And then, as we're going up to the story level, that's the body of the vessel itself. That's like the actual stuff this is made of, the actual vessel, right? It's covered on the outside with something, and it's covered on the inside also with something. But the actual material this is made of, this is the body of the vessel. We're building ourselves, the stuff of our lives. We're taking the stuff of our lives, our feelings, our emotions, what we're going through in each day, what we're learning each day, what we're trying to rectify each day within ourselves. That's the story, is the core of our being. That's really what we're made of. We're made up of our life materials, and we need to take this material and turn it into a story, just like every writer does, or every artist takes a piece of material and he turns this material into a work of art. That's what we're supposed to do. And then the third highest level of the sapphire, the expectation towards the giving of the Torah, that's the inner dimension of the vessel, the interior of the vessel, that's thirsty to be filled with the light of the Torah. So now what happens is, of course, that we're going through the counting of the Omer, and every day we're counting, and each and every day we're experiencing simultaneously these 3 levels. On one level, just counting, we're building the exterior by working on our ethical behavior and our character traits, building our character. We're building the body of the vessel, and by being longing for the light of the Torah to fill us up in Shavuot, in the Festival of Weeks, we're building the interior of the vessel. And of course, above all this is the light, right? The light, there are lights and vessels, and all these 3 levels are 3 levels of building a vessel towards the light. That's the 4th level of all this. We have 2 more columns, so cover them. These 3 levels correspond to the 3 basic, very fundamental concepts that the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov, founder of Chassidut, taught us. He said it in every meaningful process that we go through, in Torah study, in praying, in learning, in rectifying ourselves, we need to go through 3 stages that are called submission. We have to submit to the fact that we're not perfect, that we need rectification. And then we need to conduct sort of inner separation between the good and bad within us. And finally, we need to attach ourselves to the good, but also we need to rectify the bad. And that's called sweetening. Sweetening is when the bad is also becomes good. So it's submission, separation, sweetening. In Hebrew it's called hachna'a, havdala, hamtaka. Now this particular example that we see here is an example of these three concepts not presented as a process. It's not first submission, then separation, and then sweetening. It's simultaneously. Because as I said, we're counting the Omer, and every day we're going through, in different levels within us, all three aspects. So on the most bottom level, we're in a state of submission, when we're just counting. And then on the middle level is we're rectifying our attributes, and we're finding the good, and distancing ourselves from the bad. This is an inner separation at the same time that we're doing the submission. And then the sweetening is this, again, the growing experience of being closer and closer to God's light through this process. Now, on the other hand, this is the final column, there is a gradual evolution or process of going from the number to the sapphire, from the counting to the giving of the Torah, because as I've said, the counting is looking backwards and seeing how many days we're no longer in Egypt, whereas the sapphire, the light level, we're expecting the light, is a countdown towards. So there is a dimension of time here also, and we can see this in the final column, which is past, present, future. The level of number has to do with rectifying our past, and that's also submission, and the counting and the mourning has to do with our past sins, with things that we were at, the Egypt that we left, and it needs rectification. So the counting has to do with the remembering where you came from, and remembering what brought you here, and remembering what you have to rectify that's in your past. Your past is still part of you. You can't erase it. You're not supposed to erase it. You just need to have a certain inner submission as to whatever it is that you went through, and whatever it is that you did. If it's faults that you did that you're trying to rectify, they have to be alive within you as a memory that you're rectifying. And then the level of story is very much being in the present, in the now, in the here and now. Today, what do I rectify today? What am I doing now? I don't want to dwell on the past too much. I don't want to sink back into the past. I'm counting the days since I left Egypt, but I want to live this day and to be very aware of it and to make the most of it. And this has to do with building the body of the vessel, the stuff of our lives, and write the story of our lives. This is right now. You're writing the story of your life. And then, of course, the interior of the vessel, looking forward towards Chag Shavuot, the holiday of Shavuot, that has to do with the future. So there is this process. We can say that the more we advance, the more the center of gravity goes up from the level of number to the level of story to the level of sapphire. We can even say that because the counting of the Omer takes place over those 7 weeks, it's the end of 1 month, the month of Nisan, then it's the whole month of Iyar, and then it's also a few days into Sivan. So that's the fact that it really covers, it goes across 3 months. We can say that the first month, the 2 weeks of Nisan, that's more the middle level, the lower level, and then Iyar is mostly about the middle level, and of course Sivan, we're very close to Chag Shavuot, it's mostly about the third level. So there is this progression and advance through all these levels. Now this model isn't just about Sfirat HaOmer, the counting of the Omer. It's not just about the transition from the Passover to Shavuot. It's also generally a model for how to overcome trauma, from how to overcome something shocking that we've been through. Whatever Egypt there is in our lives, Egypt means straits, constraints. We're constrained in a certain situation, and we're breaking free, but then we need to go through a process, a journey of processing what we've been through and trying to build, a sane, stable, hopeful, lighted up life that's not a victim of the past circumstances. And whatever it is, if we've been in an abusive relationship and we got out of it, and we've been in a situation that was damaging or hurtful to us, or we ourselves were our own Egypt, we were behaved in a negative way, and now we're trying to grow out of that situation, we can use this model as a kind of map for how to grow out of this. We need to have 3 levels each day that we're going through. We need on one level to just count the days, appreciate the fact that we're no longer in the negative situation we were before, that we're out of it. Thank God, Baruch Hashem, we're not in that situation anymore, and just be every day, be grateful, be thankful for this. And that builds, your outside, the way you're dealing with the world. And has to do with submission, has to do with being, regretting the past. That's the mourning aspect. And then on a higher level, at the same time, we need to work on today, what we're rectifying and building within ourselves today. We're not just, we're not living in the shadow of the Pharaoh, of the negative power that controlled us, that ruled over us in the past. We are our own masters now, and we're writing our story now. When we need a project for today, we need something we work on today. And then also we need a goal. We need something to look forward to that would give us new meaning to our lives. We're leaving a negative master, and we're looking for a positive master, which is really God, which is really our own souls also. And we want to set a goal, that we want to find our Mount Sinai, the place that we're receiving our Torah, which is our way, which is our light, and we want to strive towards that goal. So it's really, it could work. You can use this model for people who are trying to recover from something they went through, or people who are trying to what's the word? You're addicted to drugs, and you're trying to come out of this, right? It's not recover, it's another word, I forgot the word now. You want to be released from this addiction. You want to be released from this addiction, and you want to be free of this, and you want to go through this process. So this is our shiur for today, and I hope it helps you in your own journey through this counting of the Omer. I want to end with telling you that if you don't know, that I have this daily project that every evening I send through WhatsApp and also Telegram, a daily meditation for the counting of the Omer. Every day I send a short piece about that particular Kabbalistic combination of Sefirot, and what they mean, and how to translate them into our inner work. And I'm going to put down the link to this WhatsApp group and Telegram group within a channel in the description of this video. So you're very, very much welcome to join this group. Even if you're watching this after the counting of the Omer has been completed, this WhatsApp group is supposed to go on with other things, with other ideas. So it's supposed to be active. Just, click it, go in, join us. It's a silent group. It's not, it doesn't, no endless notifications. It's just one message a day. That's what I'm sending. Second thing is, if you want to leave if you have something to react, something to add, something to say, please leave your comment below. I'd love to hear what you think about this class. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. It really helps. And I'll see you next week.